Okay, welcome back. Forgotten Battles, OCS, etc. We're either at the end of the 26th of November or the end of the 22nd of November, depending on how a die roll here goes. I'm reading through the rules and I see that with deep freezes, that it's basically treated as a, what do you call it? A simulcast turn. And that got me to thinking whether this was mandatory or not. It says something in here. Let me just see if I can find it real quick for you. Deep freeze, the weather condition first seen in GB2 when Case Blue was included in a simplified format for this game. Deep freeze simulates blizzard conditions and operational shutdown. So there you go. Deep freeze is played. So it says is played as a simulcast turn. So that sounds like I have to play it as a simulcast turn. I cannot conduct any combat. So that being said, I executed some combats for the 22nd of November. And on the 26th of November, I started that turn, rolled for weather, and was freeze. And so what we're going to assume, I need to roll for air because I didn't do that. Yeah. Okay. That actually will work out well because I rolled 9 for that. That means no flight. So simulcast turn, I will just need to roll for both sides for supply and replacements and check reinforcements. And we'll do that. And we'll assume that for this turn that I just played for both sides, that everything that happened happened on the 26th. That will kind of clean up my gameplay and my mistake about handling this turn as a simulcast. I did post a question online, but now as I reread the rule, it's pretty clear that it's mandatory for it to be played as a simulcast. And we're in deep freeze territory now. The rivers are frozen and we require 3 turns of mud or clear to have them not be frozen. And that changes or mitigates both movement and combat, obviously, for both sides. I know you really can't see very much here. I could probably switch the angle a little bit. Nothing really transpired terribly much. I did run, those combats were run up here. Without air, it was a beatdown, and the artillery was very effective. We knocked a couple of steps out here and there. You can see the loss, that's not the losses. I don't know where the losses are. Losses are here. 2 steps lost by the Axis and the Soviet forces. They took a little bit of a beatdown. They pulled at L2. They rolled a 2 on a low odds combat. That was kind of a soak off. That I was doing. It's not technically a soak off, but I was attacking the hex because I wanted to try and push the units out of the way to make a 2 hex gap. The 1 hex that was primary for us, we advanced into, it's here, right here with this exploit marker that needs to come off actually. So, it's very mediocre, very slow, very, very beat downish. All these guys up here are in DG mode for the Germans. So this coming turn, which will now pile over to the last turn in November, we turned the 29th of November. Those DGs will come off at some point in the turn, depending on whether they get initiative or not. In fact, let's just roll for initiative while we're here. Be interesting to see who gets it. And I need to roll for weather. Actually, I got to roll for weather first. So let's roll for weather. The 29th with, okay, 4 is going to be another freeze turn. And initiative, the Russians get it. So Russians will have to decide if they want to continue the offensive. Actually, they're mandatory, have to do 1 more turn in Baltic 1. And then we can probably also make some decisions about whether or not we want to pull the Western Front, which is just down here, this area here, whether we're going to pull that out of offensive mode. I'd like to move the RVGK marker up. I've got a lot of forces sitting ready to come back on the board. I'll show you the RVK3 here. A lot of forces ready to come back on the board. And I think I need to get those into play. And I'm thinking it's not in the Western Front. I'm really feeling like Belarus 2 zone has more potential for some breakthrough. If I can take Mogilev and try and cut up this way using some of these roads, I don't know. It's tricky. The Germans are starting to pull back along this line here. They're getting ready to do that. It's a minor river, the Drut River. So it's not a great defensive location, but it's something. But we're fairly solid. The Axis forces are fairly solid, despite having to commit 12th Panzer to the line here. They're holding at the moment, and I'm struggling to get good offensive momentum with the Soviets. Just a function of some bad die rolling, of course, but weather and terrain, and I think just not the best coordination. One of the things I'm finding, because the Axis is the Axis is allowed to know what fronts are activated, so they can move these mobile forces, these divisions that they have, sitting around. They can move those where there's potential threats, and you can also start to reinforce. So if I know that this is the boundary for Second Belarus, I can start reinforcing weaker areas by either improving hedgehogs or by slipping a couple extra units in there and peeling them off from somewhere else where it's not active, where it's regrouping, and sort of doing the unit shuffle, I guess. Probably a bit of a cheesy move, but you know where the active fronts are, so I'm letting myself do that just because. And it seems to make sense, and also seems to be working. You can see down here, I'm trying to, this is actually a gap area here. There's no front being focused on here or in range here. So I'm outside of Bellow 2 and Bellow 1. They're the two edges of it. But I've got HQs that can reach and throw supply into that area, particularly once I get rid of, I got to get rid of this little hex here. It's still holding out of supply. Once I capture that hex, I can put an HQ right here on the edge of First Bellow, and then I can throw into these combat zones I'll have to activate First Bellow to do that, though. Anyway, a little bit of a ramble. It's really interesting, but it's becoming a bit of a slog doing it solo, and we'll see how we go, right? I'd like to get into December at least, which is all automatically freeze. I don't know. We'll see. If it's not exciting and fun, I think it's time to move on. We've had a decent experience with this, and I have enjoyed it, and I am enjoying it. I think I'd enjoy this opposed a lot more than I would solo. It's great to see a battle at this scale, and I really like that. But I might have played my hand out. I'd love to see a nice big breakout somewhere and see some things go down, from that perspective, versus just kind of, packing away in an attrition mode here. The attrition is relatively effective, but the Axis are getting quite a few replacements, and it's very surprising. They're actually keeping up with the losses that are being inflicted, which tells me that I'm not doing a very good job as the Soviets, or the war. This particular offensive is at that phase where things are starting to peter out. And if I recall, I think that's what was going on, but I have to double check. Anyway. Just thought I'd do a quick video because I hadn't been recording much recently, but not a lot has happened. There's been a lot of shuffling and a lot of moving very slow because there's deep freeze, et cetera, et cetera. All right, talk to you soon.